wanted to like do the Rockets referendum real quick because I'm just curious what your thoughts are as this is sort of an end of an era of the Rockets because D'Antoni's leaving. Like it's kind of not really like as long as Harden is there, whoever's coaching is going to have to placate Harden, and in doing so, you're probably going to have to let him just do whatever the hell he wants, and it's going to look very similar to what the Rockets have been these last few years. But it feels like the end of an era for the Rockets. Was this era a failure? If this is it, if the Rockets like next year miss the playoffs, and then say they make they hit the reset button and they get rid of Harden and just like blow it all up, would you say that this era was a failure?
I would personally not. And here's why.
Yeah.
Because I think there's two eras within the Rockets, the James Harden Rockets, right? There's the 2012 to 2016, and then there's the 2016 to 2020 version of the Rockets. And the 2012 to 2016, I think, is an overachieving version of the Rockets. And I know that's the McHale era. He gets fired, and there's obviously the Dwight Howard experiment is in there. I mean, there's just the Trevor Ariza times, like all this sort of stuff with the Rockets. They tried to do the Ty Lawson trade to get him to Houston at one point to try that experiment out. But I think when D'Antoni came in 2016 and decided, hey, I don't know what the position is called because everyone wants to say that they're a point guard, but whatever you want to call James Harden, where he starts the offense. You want to call him a starter, you want to call him a whatever, like he is the guy that has the ball in his hand and everything runs through him. D'Antoni does that, comes in 2016, and then in 2016, they had a real shot at beating the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors had won 73 games, but the Rockets, in my opinion, weren't that far away, right? And then there was always like a reason, and I kind of like wrote down in 2017, they go against the Spurs. And then in 2018, they, without Kevin Durant, they lose to the Warriors and they missed 27 threes. I mean, that's like unheard of statistically. That doesn't
without
seem
Chris Paul.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like that's possible.
Yeah.
And anyways, all that whole run, right, from the 2016 to 2020, this entire time with James Harden, the 4 years before that, there's always been on the precipice of success, like of reaching a title, but they're always been right there. They've always been in contention. They've always put all their chips on the table. They're always willing to, like you said, zig and zag. They wanted to zig while the Warriors were zagging. They wanted to play their own brand of basketball. I find them unique. I don't find them hateable. I did find it weird and odd that there weren't more people that found the weirdness lovable. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's fascinating.
That's what's weird as a guy who's not like fully entrenched in the NBA at all times.
But it's hard. It's like LeBron has his own thing, and then like the Warriors had like this beautiful brand of basketball, which is like passing and shooting and fundamentally sound, and the Rockets were just different. And
I saw Ramona Shelburne tweeted it originally, and I think KOC got on board with the sentiment about kind of what you said. Like the Rockets went for it, and we should applaud them for that. And they were getting killed for that opinion because no one's saying hang a banner. No one's saying that the Rockets should be proud of themselves because they tried really, really hard. Like that's not. I think it's more like you said. I am surprised that more NBA fans don't do the move where it's like I hate it but I respect it, or like I'm glad that like people are thinking outside the box because we need more diversity. We need the league to be more than just like whoever has LeBron wins or whoever has like
Isn't it funny though, because the process I feel like was that exact is very similar to the Rockets, except for there was actually a short-sighted goal to it. Like the process with this long goal, so you don't see the results, but like the Rockets are still giving you the results.
I think the process was 100%. I think listen, Hinkie didn't get to see it all the way through. He got the rug pulled out from under him. Like, so I'm not putting this on Hinkie, but like whatever that era of the 76ers was as a franchise, the process was definitely more of a failure than Morey ball. Definitely. Like the
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
like
it's not even close.
The Rockets took the Warriors, one of the greatest teams of all time, if not the greatest team of all time, the 2018 Warriors. They took them to 7 games. Like you said, and they didn't have Chris Paul because he was hurt. Chris Paul is healthy. If they don't miss 27 threes, it's a lot of what ifs. I understand. Again, I'm not saying hang the banner. I'm not saying pat yourself on the back because you choked and missed 27 threes in a row. I'm saying just because it doesn't work this time doesn't mean it couldn't have worked. It doesn't mean that you're like, the conversation around the Rockets are always, it's just so bizarre. And I think what makes it more bizarre is like, it's not like these guys are flaming out in the first round every year or the second round every year. They're going to conference finals. This is rings culture. If you don't win a ring, nothing matters. Nothing. You're a failure if you don't win a ring. I mean, are the 90s Jazz a failure? Like the Rockets,
not my
like the biggest thing that the Rockets had wrong was that they tried when they shouldn't have tried because the Warriors were inevitable. It was the Warriors and LeBron era, and the Rockets were like, maybe we could shake it up, and no, you
I
can't.
mean, and
You're not
same with
gonna.
the Clippers. The Clippers did the
Yeah,
same thing, and I do feel like
but
for whatever reason, the Clippers are like the same vein of the Rockets, where everyone hated them because they wanted to see the experiment. We wanted to see Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan fail because it wasn't supposed to work. Like
yeah,
Chris Paul and Blake Griffin were never going to work. James Harden and Russell Westbrook were never going to work. So it was like the preconceived notions of what we expected on a basketball court, which could honestly be thrown out the window with the Rockets and D'Antoni and the fact that they're already playing this manipulated style of basketball of like taking a certain amount of threes and all that sort of stuff with the spacing. But just that simple fact that everyone wanted to be proven right that like this couldn't work,
this
I
can't
felt
work.
like
Yeah,
it hurt.
yeah,
It hurt the reality of what we were watching,
yeah.
which is like a
But to
different
me,
style of basketball.
to me, it's two different it's two different discussions because like the discussion about whether James Harden is flopping too much and traveling, and it's like a disgusting brand of basketball to watch, and this is killing me trying to watch this versus like uh are the Rockets a gimmick and was this entire era a failure? And you know, I feel like those are two different things. Like you can again, you can like say I hate this brand of basketball. I don't like watching it. I think James Harden gets rewarded for far too many travels and flops and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, I respect or I like or whatever the word is that someone is thinking outside of the box. Someone is trying to like shake it up a little bit. Someone is trying to build a different model to an NBA championship than the same model that everyone else is following. Which is like just load up on all the best players. Like the Rockets didn't necessarily. I know like Westbrook and Harden kind of, and like they obviously tried to get good players, but for the most part, they weren't trying to do the Warriors thing where they signed Durant and like with LeBron, like whatever the super team era is. Like the Rockets, you never looked at their roster and said they have a super team now. So I don't. It's bizarre to me because like even if you hate Harden and how he plays, like some part of you should look at like the Rockets, in my estimation, and say it does remind me of Virginia in a lot of ways. That was always like kind of my argument with Virginia. Is like I'm not telling you you have to like Virginia, the way they play basketball. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But like, shouldn't we be encouraging different styles? Shouldn't like do we really want every single team to play the exact same way? I would say no. So it would be cool to see them win a title and validate a different brand of basketball, which they ultimately did. And it's great now because now in recent memory, we have Virginia winning a title, North Carolina winning a title, two completely different ways of doing it. So I don't know. I think the Rockets, when I look back on it, I think the Rockets, I think it was a success. Obviously, they wanted to win a title. They didn't win a title, but I don't think it's a failure because if that's a failure, then like basically you're saying any franchise that goes for it, quote unquote, and doesn't win a title is a failure, which it's not necessarily a
That's a slippery
success.
slope. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? For
that's
the league.
binary thinking, I guess. So
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying it's a success, but I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think it's like
It's not black or white. It's not either or.
like
Exactly.
I think to win titles in any sport at any level, you have to build a team that is good enough to win it, that you can win with, that like there is a chance that you give yourself a chance. You like certainly with the NCAA tournament, this is how it works. It's like no team, there's no foolproof way to like build an NCAA title team. You just kind of like hope the basketball gods are on your side, sort of thing. That's not as true as in the NBA, but there's still like that sentiment of like you just have to give yourself a chance and then hope the breaks happen where like the injury bug doesn't bite you and the Rockets did that. And I guess like in my view that's it. They gave themselves a chance. Ultimately it didn't work out, but like I don't know. It's I don't know. I just wanted to say that because I feel like we're done talking about the Rockets for a very long time. I feel like this is yeah, I don't know.
I think that we are basically at this weird point with the Rockets if you're the ownership group and you look at it where we tried the first time, the first 4-year window with Kevin McHale and James Harden playing the shooting guard and like this more traditional style to win a title. We had a traditional big. That didn't work. We tried the D'Antoni small ball. Let's try to rig the system here, like what the Warriors did. And that didn't work. And it's like, do we go for 3 times the charm here? Or do we look at the team and we say, James Harden is 31 years old. We've had him for 8 years. We tried out the James Harden experiment. His value is as high as it's possibly going to be. He just led the league in points per game.
Yeah.
Do we look at a trade with someone like the Detroit Pistons and try to get Blake Griffin for James Harden? Do we look at a team like the Washington Wizards and try to get Bradley Beal for James Harden and try to run a team that has Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook? But like, that is, I think a lot of people in this offseason are going to talk about Westbrook and the trade potentials, but I do think that the Rockets, if Daryl Morey's there, I don't think he'll get traded. But if they get rid of Morey and they just do a full blanket thing, then I think James Harden and the possible destinations, because like if James Harden goes to the Wizards and it's John Wall and James Harden, I mean, I want to watch that team. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know what that looks like. And I think like that to me is the fascinating part about the Rockets. If they do blow it up, it's like, what
Yeah.
is James Harden post Rockets? What
Yeah.
does that look like? So
And if they don't blow it up, oof.
they're
Russell
one piece
Westbrook.
away. That's what James
I
Harden
don't
said.
know, man.
He said they're one piece away.
Oh,
I'm quoting them.
You're quoting.
man.
Okay.
One piece
all
away.
right. All right.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.